Hello, this is a podcast taking a deep dive into this area from the Compliance Doctor. Compliance Doctor is part of the top UK regulatory consultancy, Compliance Consultant, and has been since 2000. Call us on 0800 689 0190. Now, on with the podcast.
Okay, so are you ready to dive into something new?
Always.
It might sound kind of corporate at first, but stick with me, because this is something that affects all of us.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are we diving into?
Operational resilience.
Operational resilience, like bouncing back from setbacks.
That's the basic idea, but it goes way deeper than that. It all started with this ebook you sent over, actually.
Oh yeah, the Operational Resilience book by ComplianceDoctor.pdf one, right?
It's the one. I gotta admit, I went in thinking it would be the usual business continuity stuff.
Which is important, but can be a little dry, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this ebook, this is different. It's like they took the whole concept of bouncing back to a whole new level.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not just about surviving disruptions, It's about adapting and coming out stronger on the other side.
I like the sound of that.
Right. And they hit you with this word, resilience. And fun fact, it comes from the Latin resiliere, which means to recoil or rebound. So it's literally about bouncing forward, not just back to how things were before.
Bouncing forward. That's a good way to put it.
And honestly, I think that's crucial in today's world. Things are changing so fast, unexpected things keep popping up left and right.
No kidding. The ability to adapt seems more important than ever.
Right. It's not just a business advantage anymore. It's essential for pretty much everything we do.
So how does this ebook approach operational resilience in a different way? You said it went deeper.
Yeah, way deeper. Like they use this example, the earthquake example. Remember that?
Vaguely remind me.
So they talk about how it's not just about having an evacuation plan in place, which is obviously important, but it's about thinking way bigger than that.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. It's about being prepared for anything, not just the most obvious risks.
Exactly. And it made me realize that a lot of us were stuck in this recovery mindset, which, don't get me wrong, is important. But this ebook made me realize that true operational resilience, it starts way before a crisis ever hits.
It's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. And, the ebook actually says traditional business continuity and disaster recovery plans, they're like having a fire extinguisher. Essential, sure, but what if you could prevent the fire in the first place?
I see. So it's not just about putting out fires, it's about building a fireproof structure from the ground up.
That's a great way to put it. But the question is, what's driving this need for a more proactive approach? Why is this all so important right now?
Good question.
Well, the ebook mentions some pretty compelling reasons. For one thing, there's COVID-19. I mean, talk about a global wake-up call.
Yeah.
It showed us just how interconnected and vulnerable we all are.
Yeah, no one was really prepared for something like that.
And it's not just about one-off events like a pandemic. The ebook talks about this idea of regression to the tail.
Regression to the tail, what's that?
So basically, it suggests that these huge, impactful events, those black swan events, we're actually more likely to see them happening more often in the future, the kind of stuff that traditional risk management might not even account for.
So more major disruptions, more often, not just small hiccups.
Yeah, unfortunately. And that brings us to the second major driver, the increasing likelihood of disruptive events in general. Climate change, geopolitical instability, cyber attacks, even just the rapid pace of technology, they all contribute to a world that's increasingly unpredictable.
It's like the ground is constantly shifting beneath our feet. Makes you feel a little unsteady, right?
Right. Like even if you're prepared for one kind of disruption, there's no guarantee that's what you're going to face.
It's about being able to adapt to whatever comes your way.
Exactly. And this isn't just theoretical, The World Economic Forum estimated that dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic ended up costing 500 times more than what pandemic prevention measures would have cost.
Wow. 500 times. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, right. It really highlights the importance of investing in resilience up front. And then there's the third major driver the ebook talks about, the increased focus on operational resilience from regulators.
So it's not just a good idea, it's becoming a requirement in some sectors.
Exactly. We're seeing it, especially in the financial services industry, with organizations like the Financial Conduct Authority, the Basel Committee, even the European Council getting involved.
So they're really starting to crack down and make sure businesses are prepared for anything.
And while the regulations might start with specific industries, the underlying principles of operational resilience, they're relevant to everyone, whether you're a massive corporation, a small business owner, or just navigating your own personal life.
Because at the end of the day, we all face challenges and disruptions. The ability to adapt and thrive in the face of change, that's invaluable.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing that really struck me about this ebook is how it talks about operational resilience as an ecosystem.
An ecosystem. I like that.
Right. It's not just about having a plan. It's about how everything connects and interacts.
That makes sense. Everything's connected these days.
Exactly. And the ebook does a good job of breaking down all those different components, like those important business services. They're basically talking about the things that would cause the biggest headaches if they went down.
Yeah, those critical functions that keep everything running smoothly.
Right. And then they take it a step further and map out all the sub-processes, the resources, the people, the technology, everything those services rely on, even assess how resilient those resources are.
Wow, so it's really getting into the nitty-gritty details.
Oh, yeah. We're not just talking about having a backup generator. We're talking about the resilience of the people running that generator, the supply chain for the fuel, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, I'm starting to see how complex this can get. How do you even keep track of it all?
That's where those visual maps and dashboards they talk about come in. Remember figures 4 and 5 in the ebook?
Oh yeah, those were helpful. Seeing everything laid out visually like that, all those connections, it really clicked.
Right. You suddenly see those potential weak points, those dependencies you might not have even considered before.
Exactly. It's like having X-ray vision into your organization's resilience. You can spot those single points of failure that could bring everything crashing down if something goes wrong.
And that's where having the right tools comes in, which the ebook touches on. They mention this Protect ERM system as a possible solution, but they're not pushy about it or anything.
Which is nice. No one likes a hard sell.
For sure. But it made me think, a lot of organizations are probably still using spreadsheets for this kind of thing, right?
Probably, yeah. Spreadsheets are great for some things, but I can see how they get a little unwieldy for something as complex as this.
Totally. Like the ebook says, spreadsheets aren't really designed to handle this level of interconnectedness, this constant change. You need a system that can model those relationships, track everything, and give you real-time insights.
Makes sense. So we've got our ecosystem, we're identifying critical services, mapping everything out, using the right tools. Where does all this fit into an organization's overall risk strategy?
That is the million-dollar question. And the ebook actually addresses that directly. They argue that operational resilience shouldn't be treated as its own separate thing. It needs to be integrated with enterprise risk management, ERM.
So it's not about replacing ERM, it's more like enhancing it.
Exactly. It's about taking those existing processes, your risk appetite statements, your risk assessments, and applying this operational resilience lens.
Instead of just thinking about how to survive a crisis, you're thinking about how to thrive in spite of it.
Now you're getting it. It's about building a more holistic and proactive approach to risk management, one that's built for today's crazy, unpredictable world. Okay, so you've convinced me. Operational resilience, this ecosystem idea, it's important. But how do you actually make it happen? Where do you even start?
Well, the good news is the ebook lays out a pretty practical roadmap for implementation.
Oh, good. Lay it on me.
So, first things first, you need to take a good, hard look in the mirror. Figure out where you stand right now when it comes to resilience.
You mean like a self-assessment?
Exactly. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Once you've got a handle on your current state, you can start identifying and prioritizing the gaps. You can't tackle everything at once, so focus on the areas that need the most attention.
Makes sense. Pick your battles, right?
Exactly. And the ebook highlights some key elements to have in place early on. Clear governance, buy-in from leadership, a solid methodology, the right systems for managing it all, and of course, training.
Training, right. It's amazing how often that gets overlooked.
It's crucial, though. You can have the best systems in the world, but if people don't understand how to use them or why it even matters.
It's all for nothing. You need people to buy in, not just go through the motions.
Exactly. It's about shifting the entire mindset from just checking boxes to really embracing resilience as a core value.
And that goes beyond just businesses, doesn't it? I mean, this whole deep dive has really gotten me thinking about my own life.
Absolutely. It's not just about businesses being able to weather a storm. It's about all of us as individuals building that same kind of resilience into our own lives. How do we handle stress? How do we adapt to change?
Those are big questions.
They are. And I think this ebook is a great starting point for anyone looking to understand and build operational resilience.
So as we wrap up here, I think the big takeaway for me is that operational resilience, it's about so much more than just surviving, isn't it?
It really is. It's about thriving, being able to adapt, to innovate, to come out stronger on the other side, no matter what life throws your way.
Well said. And on that note, maybe we can leave our listeners with something to think about.
I like it. What do you have in mind?
Well, we've talked a lot about operational resilience in a business sense, but what about on a personal level? What's one area in your own life where you could be more resilient? Something to ponder. Thanks for diving in with us.